Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Monkey in the Morning. I'm your host, the Ranting Monkey, and we're here to talk for a couple of hours, hopefully entertain you, and at the very least, entertain myself. How goes it today, guys? Oh, crap. I forgot something. It might get quiet here for just a second. Damn it. I hate when I do this. All right, and we should be back. Anyway, guys, how are you today? I hope you're well. I'm good actually. Little sore, but that's because I slept. Lady Monkey's been away taking care of my daughter's animals while she was on vacation, and I don't sleep when Lady Monkey's not in the house. What we're doesn't sleep in the house. Um, when she's gone places and been overnight places, I just don't sleep well, and I don't sleep well anyway. So this last week was rough, really, really rough. And she got back yesterday, and I slept a little bit. And then tonight at about 4 o'clock, it was actually about 5. Looked at her and like, baby, I got to go to sleep. And for the first time in recent memory and long memory, I slept without interruption. Did not wake up one time until almost 2 in the morning. So, whew, Monkey got some sleep finally. It was nice. It was really nice. So I'm wide awake and I'd say bushy-tailed, but not quite. Wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, like a rabbit, but not quite. But still happy, very, very happy, and was just cuddling with the feed monster out there because if I go out into the living room at 4 o'clock in the morning, she insists on being cuddled like a baby, and I enjoy loving on her. So, I saw a story claiming the Hawaii Electric Company might have caused the fire due to them not shutting the power. Raymond, we will get to that. I promise. We will look at all of the possibilities, as well as me giving my take, what I think probably happened. And I will say that I have no evidence. Is that the right way to put out there that I really don't fucking know? Because truthfully, I nobody knows at this point, which is interesting. It's something to think about. Let's get at least an interesting looking picture on the screen. I like this. Oh no, that one's way too small. That's garbage. But we'll go with the one we used for the thumbnail. You might notice that it looks a little bit different than the thumbnail. That's because for thumbnails, I do adjust coloring. I don't want anybody to think that Monkey was doctoring photos to make them look. Nah, it's just to pop and catch the eye more. So it is a little bit less red than it is in the thumbnail. But this is one of the most famous pictures of the fire, and I want to use this one not just because it's the fire itself, but there's a lot of nonsense swirling about this one. There's in this specific picture, somebody went through and added a laser beam hitting the top of this roof here, right in here. And you'll hear a lot of talk of DEW or DO. And what that stands for those you don't know, it's a direct energy weapon. It's a freaking laser. And so you got these people out there. It's lasers. We'll get to that in a moment. Jonathan, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jonathan. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Jonathan. I hope you had a great one. Really, really do. Sorry, missed getting it to you before your birthday or on your birthday, but I hope it still helps. Yeah, and I really do. I hope you had a great one. So yeah, the space laser. All right, guys, calm down. One, there's not a single picture of the space lasers yet that is not clearly doctored, that you can't clearly find the original picture of, or the original picture of the laser. The one that I saw, one of the ones I saw from this, the laser actually comes from a Taco Bell ad. Okay, sure. Frankly says yet. Indeed, yet. We haven't seen one yet that is proof positive of any kind of laser. Now, I don't know why you would set Maui on fire with a laser. I feel like there'd be other places that if you're really trying to impact some kind of change that you'd hit first, like Los Angeles or New York. Maybe they just didn't have the right fire standard to get it to really go out of control. But here's in this picture specifically, did I almost say Pacifically? Jesus Christ, maybe I slept too long. In this picture specifically, the laser's coming in. Why would there be a giant fire way behind it already burning if the laser's what did this to the house? Why would the house already be that engulfed the way it was because of the laser? For God's sakes. Come on, at least use Independence Day. Yes, exactly. Well, there is one of those. I don't know if you've seen it, Bubba. There's one where there's a lightning flash and somebody takes a still from it, and there's this clear white laser beam coming down that, if I had to guess, is like a quarter of a mile wide. Yeah, nobody noticed it except for you watching this video. The people who were there, not one of them saw this quarter mile wide laser beam strike the earth. But yes, it was definitely a white laser beam. No, it was a red. No, it was a yellow one. It wasn't a freaking laser, okay? Dr. Evil was not involved in the Maui fire. I'm just saying. So that means we have to look at what did cause it. What are the possible causes? Now, as was just brought up in chat, there's some people who think that it is the power company there in Maui. There's a hurricane, was it like 400 miles south of Hawaii, Hurricane Dora. And it did cause high winds. It's part of why the fire is so bad. It's just blowing everywhere. Are we Alderaan? Apparently. Thank God they don't have the planet-killing lasers. But anyway, the thought is that the high winds knocked down a power line because the power lines weren't made for high winds, and it sparked a fire, and Maui burns. It's possible. It is possible. However, it should be noted that the fire on Maui was burning before it got out of control. And I want to point to, do I still have that? Did I close that goddamn article? I think I did. Of course I did. Because I had other articles open. All right, so it's a New York Times article from yesterday, I forget. But if you look up what caused the Maui fire in New York Times, you'll find this article. And in there, it mentions that on August 8th, there was already a fire burning, and that the local authorities had came out and said, hey, this fire is under control. We have this brush fire out of control, or in control. We've controlled it. And then a few hours later, they came out and said something flared up. They don't say what, but they never separate it from that original fire. So the fire was already burning. Is it possible that they had it under control and a power line broke and hit something and caused it to flare up? Sure. But could there be another explanation? Oh, yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. We do know power lines can fall and spark fires. There's a big call to bury power lines. And I don't know. I don't know what I think about buried power lines. You run into the problem of possible stray electricity, but it's like a 1 in a billion chance for that to happen. But you do get away from things like power lines falling and setting the world ablaze. A laser shot from the grassy knoll. I think Mighty Balzac just nailed it. We don't even need to talk anymore. It was Oswald with the space laser on the grassy knoll. Buried is much better. I think so. But I think a lot of the problem with when you're talking about this, a lot of the problem with the power lines themselves is land management. You ever been driving through somewhere and you see where they've just completely clear cut and you just have these giant power lines there. You ever notice that those power lines are long enough that if they fell, they could actually hit all of the brush around them? Not even talking about the grass right below them, but all of the brush around them. It's not wide enough to make sure that if that did fall, that the worst it would do is singe some grass. Especially if you're talking about because a high storm came through and a very windy storm, a tornado or something rips through. It's not just going to fall straight to the ground. Power lines wouldn't circle the whole area and burn inward. Now, Jeff, hang on. You're getting ahead of me a little bit. Getting ahead of me a little bit. So power lines are one theory. And is it possible? Sure. Is it possible that one of those fires that we are talking about, because there are several fires if you look at this. If you look at where it was burning, there's pictures where you can see this, where there's pockets burning. Now, the theory behind that is, some embers got up into the air and they floated over to the left and set everything on fire. All right, yeah, that can happen. But it's amazing how much it jumps and you have all these different pockets. Possible. Sure. Is there a better explanation? I'm glad I asked. I think there's a much better explanation, especially considering we know that the fire was already burning. At least a fire was already burning. And that word, my friends, is arson. Oh, but monkey, there's no proof of arson. True. But there are there's some indicators that we might want to look at. I want to show you guys something. I want to show you an article from the 17th of May. 17th of May of this year. Over in France, there was an issue that they had. French activists protect climate crisis with fire. Now, that might seem like a weird thing, but let's get down to where this is. As there was a freeway being put up, and they're like, you guys are destroying the planet with this stuff. And so what do? They set a fire. In protest at plans for a new motorway, which critics say will devastate agricultural land and accelerate climate. By the way, we're reading right here. Climate breakdown. The coalition of organic farmers, environmentalists, communists, and anarchists danced to techno music and raced soapboxes along the carriageway. They then used breeze blocks and concrete to block one side of the carriageway, while on the other side, they piled haystacks and tires and set them ablaze. Remarkably, they did so without any interruption from the police, despite perpetrating a level of illegal fuck me, I'm not reading anymore. They didn't get in trouble for it. That's the overarching theme there. It's back in May. Now, Maui has been under a drought that, of course, is being blamed on climate change, despite the fact that they've had droughts going at least back to the early 1900s. Don't pay any attention to that. They did have about a 40-year gap where they didn't have any, and then it picks up again in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s into today. But yeah, record of drought goes all the way back to 1901 of droughts in Hawaii, and I think it's 1905 Maui specifically. But hey, it's the climate. Part of the reason for the droughts on Maui is their land management. That's a lot to get into. Look it up yourself. But basically, they've destroyed their own ecosystem by not properly taking care of their native wildlife, or their native plant life, not wildlife. The rabbits are all dried out. And they were trying to fix that. But who knows? Maybe it was just a power line. Certainly, there's no climate activists out there doing things that are bad for the climate and could possibly set off fires. Doesn't necessarily have to be them, though. I think it's a good indication, considering we know climate activists have done this before. There was a guy last year in Portland who finally pled guilty to fires he had set 20 years earlier that caused death. And it was a climate related thing. It was a climate protest where they were setting fires. Ended up killing somebody, and they just caught the guy. Well, just convicted the guy last year when he finally went, "Yeah, you caught me." We do know, though, around this same May time period, remember that was an article from May of 2017, May 17th to be specific. If you read the Post Millennial or if you're on Twitter at all, you've seen this story. This one. 2 individuals charged with arson on Maui. 3rd individual charged with other crimes. Notice the date on this article. Notice the date. It says May 17th, 2022. They were arrested the same day those climate protesters in France were burning shit. Thank you, Keldrick. The turtles set the fires. Probably. You can't trust those little bastards. Anybody who carries their home on their back, can you really trust them? I didn't think so. Plus, they always cheat and the hare somehow loses, even though he's much, much faster. No, the print is too small. Well, it's right here. I'll throw it into chat for you guys. I just closed the other one, but I promise you, if you zoom in, that it did say the 17th. So here's the 17th. This one from the 17th. 2 charged with arson. 3rd is wanted on other crimes. Now, in some places where you read this, they won't tell you exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. I can't tell you exactly what happened. I'll tell you what they say, and then I'll tell you what I think. But we need to describe this couple before we go further. A couple, this trio. There's a couple. We're going to call them boyfriend and girlfriend. And then there's this guy right over here, the 3rd wheel. We're going to call him Bob. So boyfriend is wanted on criminal charges. And girlfriend gets an idea. This is the official story. Girlfriend gets the idea. And she goes and tells Bob, "Hey, Bob, in order to keep the police from arresting my boyfriend, why don't we run around Maui and set fires to keep them busy?" I'm not kidding. That is the official explanation. And Bob says he told girlfriend, "Hey, that sounds crazy," but went and did it anyway. Sure, maybe that's the reason. Perhaps. But what you do need to know about this, that's far more important than just what these idiots did, is that the girlfriend, Miss Chris Tale, Chris Tale, that bitch is going to be a stripper if she wasn't going to be this. Kanuke, I can't say, the girlfriend here was released on bail. The firebug was released on bail, and Maui is on fire now. I'm not saying the two are connected, but you know. Now, Mr. Bob here, this doesn't say if he got out or if he did. I missed it in the story. It does say at the end that his bail was set at $50,000. Hers was only $5,000. She had to put up $5,000 bail. He had to do $50,000 because he is on video or was directly described as being the one who set the fire, at least one of them. But the chick who reportedly, had the idea to keep her boyfriend from going to jail, she got out on bail for $5,000. $5,000. From what I heard, it was indeed intentional. Oh yeah, they set 6 fires around Maui. Why do I keep wanting to say Miami? Around Maui. And they're like, yeah, she's a good fit to go back out. They increased this guy's bail. They increased Bob's bail because he was a danger to society. Girlfriend here, yeah, not her. She was fine. Sure, why not? Makes sense to me. So when it comes down to it, what caused the fire? My guess, considering again that the fire had already started before any possibility of power lines falling, is that Yeah, some firebug somewhere, possibly environmentally related. I don't have proof, but that would be my guess. Was running around starting fires again. That's all. Do we know? No. And we're not going to know for a while. And even if when we do get a final guesstimate, I bet you it will not tell us what started that first fire. But yeah, I mean, there you go. There's what we know. We know that they released a firebug on $5,000 bail. And a couple of months later, Maui's on fire again. She was intentionally trying to set fires to keep her boyfriend from being arrested, which might be one of the dumbest goddamn plans I've ever heard in my life. She does know they have more than like, this isn't the old West where you're trying to keep the sheriff and his two deputies busy. This is Maui. But yeah, space lasers, it's not space lasers. How many times do we have to say that? That's my son's birthday. I said, what's give me a name. It's freaking space laser. It's not space lasers. Is it possible that it's the power company? There's people say, hey, a power line might have fallen and they never turned off electricity. Well, they didn't turn off electricity in their own words because there's already somebody suing. Can you believe that shit? There are already lawyers suing the power company saying they should have turned off the power. Well, you have emergency services that rely on the power, and if there was a line that went down, yeah, there should be some kind of system that shuts it off, but you have to point to which fucking line it was. You can't just go, could have been a fucking power line. There were some videos of power lines down and fires nearby. We don't know when those occurred in what order. See what I'm saying? We do know there's gale force winds coming through. We also know that you've had fires burning there. We don't know what happened in what order. Remember, there was already a fire burning, and they said it flared up. Could it have been because a line fell there? Sure. Is it definitely what caused it? Nah, bro. We just don't know. And that's the unfortunate part. And there's lots of guessing. My guess, honestly, is firebugs. So would it be unusual? No. Would it be a good idea to be an environmental activist and to try to get attention on Maui to start a fire during a drought with high winds coming in? Really not. But have you guys seen the pictures around where it's like, look, there were gas cans at this place, trying to prove that there was a conspiracy to burn the whole place down from environmentalists? Except for these are red plastic gas cans sitting in a burned out building. Like, those were put there later. Those would have melted, you dumb shit. When I was young, my parents had bought a farmhouse that they planned to retire in. And a couple of fucking juvenile delinquents broke in and burned it down. And we got pictures of it. My dad came up here to deal with all of it and brought back pictures of what it looked like. It was an old wooden farmhouse. This fucking thing went down quick. By the time the fire department got there, the house was mostly gone. And the fire department is less than a mile away. But in one of the pictures, in this burned out shell that's left, and very little of the house was left. It was like the one wall that was attached to the stairs, and a couple of sticks of the frame, and that's it. The rest of it is just rubble. But right in the middle of it, there's a perfectly pristine broom, a wooden broom. It's not even plastic handled broom. And it just looks so funny because it looks like this house burned down, but the broom was saved. It doesn't mean that there was a witch involved. It means that somebody brought a broom in afterwards. So yeah, don't pay attention to shit that doesn't make any sense. May 17th, your son's birthday's on May 17th. I got you, Ego. I got you. My mistake. The broom did it. Indeed. The broom and space lasers burned down my parents' home. For fuck's sake. I love when I saw that picture of the 3 gas cans sitting there in this burned out shell of a building and like, look, this shows that there was arson. No, that shows that somebody knew people on the internet are stupid. Okay. That's what that shows. And you know what? It's true. People on the internet can be very stupid. They will believe anything. They will believe anything. Lots of people believed Russia collusion. So, I mean, it is what it is. Anyhow, that's all I have to say about the Maui fire thing. We really don't know. My guess would be arson, at least that started it, and that there's a good chance that it would be environmentally motivated. Look how many people we've seen talking about global warming since it. The damn global warming caused it. Did it? Probably not. Probably not. It was probably the fire. That's what did it. And you burn that much greenery, yeah, it's going to burn for a while. The weird part of it really is how it burned inwards, but that is into the homes and stuff, because a lot of these homes and things are separated by wide motorways and they still got burned out. And that's just, again, the wind was blowing. You're talking about not, they didn't have hurricane force winds there, but they did get big winds from it. And you have an ember pop up or some of them and land somewhere else. And yeah, it doesn't take long to set a fucking wooden building on fire. So what I'm getting at is make sure you water your homes. That's all. Water your homes. Dry hurricane, they weren't getting water from it. They weren't getting water from it. There wasn't rain. It was just the wind coming up. So about 60 miles an hour. Is that what the wind was at? Yeah. That's pretty fast. And it can explain why there were these groupings of fire. It just looks really weird. But I go back to what caused it. What actually caused it. And the fire started before any possible power line going down or whatever else, maybe lightning striking. They had a brush fire. And it was already started. It was already started. You don't hear the global warming people talking about that. Yeah, they're not real big on talking about how the fire was already going. It's got to be, it was a tinderbox. Well, yeah, it was. Although only 16% of Maui was under drought conditions. Did you guys know that? With as much of it as burned down. It was the drought. Only 16% of it was under drought conditions. Thank you, Dark Resurrect, for that feminist $12. Clearly, clearly the fire was caused by the theory of spontaneous combustion. Big science is trying to hide the truth. Damn right, that's what did it. It was rabbits and space lasers and big science. That's all it was. Solar flares? I mean, that'd be a hell of a solar flare. Did you guys see that the scientists right now, after, this hottest thing ever, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, the sun is being a little more powerful right now. But I'm telling people that no, it's global warming. It's the damn fossil fuels. Which gets me into the story, one of the stories I wanted to talk about. And I went back and forth between which one of these I would highlight for the thumbnail. I made 2 thumbnails for tonight because I want to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy. Again, I know I'm pronouncing his first name wrong. Vivek Viconi, whatever your name is, Bob. No, not Bob, because Bob was that firebug in Maui. Steve Ramaswamy. I apologize for not being able to pronounce your first name yet. I keep trying to learn it, dude, but it just falls right out of my head. But Vivek, God, this guy's really got my attention. Dear God, I really wish that I believed more that he had any kind of chance in hell of winning. Vivi, is that how you pronounce it? The K silent? I've heard it several different ways. And yeah, I'm going to have to Vake, like cake. See, there you go. I hear so many different. This is Steve Ramaswamy. And so Steve, he had this, wait, where'd it go? Oh, shit, I closed it. Don't worry, I can open it back up. He had a post today that I really liked, and it was retweeted by Mr. Elon Musk. And the tweet itself, we're not going to go over, but we're going to watch the video that is encapsulated in the tweet. But here's the tweet where he lays out 10 things that he believes, 10 truths. And we'll get to them in a minute. We'll get to them in a second because he actually lays them out here. We're going to watch this video and go over what he says. Now, I will read the truths real quick. Number 1, God is real. 2, there are 2 genders. 3, human flourishing requires fossil fuels. See how that was the segue? Haha. 4, reverse racism is racism. 5, an open border is no border. 6, parents determine the education of their children. 7, the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind. 8, capitalism lifts people from poverty. 9, there are 3 branches of government, not 4. And 10, the U.S. Constitution is the strongest guarantor of freedoms in history. Now, I tell you, don't disagree with most of that. Oh, crap. I'm only hearing out of one ear, and that's the first time I realized it because I don't have a co-host today. Whoopsie. It's going to drive me nuts as we listen to this. But I don't agree with all of his list, but we'll get to it as we go. I believe he believes in his list, which is far more important than whether I do.
I'll tell you something about me, all right? You are not going to see me here bashing the other good people who are running in this race. These are our colleagues. I'm going to depend on each of them just as I depend on you.
Now, this is an interesting take, and it's something. Look, I'm not saying you can't bash on the other candidates. I do think there should be kind of a limit to how you're bashing on the other candidates. First of all, it should all be real. You shouldn't be pulling a Clinton out here. And both of the top 2 candidates have been guilty of doing that shit.
To revive this country.
And he'll pardon Biden. Now, I saw him say that he wasn't going to spend his time going after Biden. I did not see him say he'd pardon it. I've seen lots of people say he said it. So if somebody has the video of him saying he was going to pardon Biden, please let me know. At least let me know where to find it.
But we do face a choice in this primary.
Well, that shit goes without saying.
The choice is this. Do you want incremental reform or do you want revolution?
Oh, man, I don't like that talking. I don't like the way, do you want revolution? I'm not so much in favor of revolution as I am, and I guess it would be revolution, but going back to when the government did not have so much control. You know what I mean? There's that revolution talk, though. I don't know that sells the best. I get what he's going for, because it would be huge changes if some of the stuff that he's talked about was actually implemented. Thank you, Dark Resurrect, for that feminist $12. There's a line between bashing and demonizing. You can trash talk the candidate without telling their supporters to go fuck themselves. Yes. And look, so far, I have not seen the candidates do that. They haven't pulled a basket of deplorables bullshit, but good God, their surrogates are doing it. They're at each other's throats. They're treating, you're evil if you like Trump. No, you're evil if you like Ron. Calm down. Relax. But hey, if you're that passionate, I guess be that passionate. But yeah, there's a big difference between criticizing and demonizing. And they can look the same, especially if it's, something horrendous. But for the most part, yeah, it's criticize them. There's plenty to criticize about both men. Criticize them and stop going after each other like you're. I said this on Twitter yesterday that the real civil war, because that was blowing up against civil war. Fuck you, Tim Pool. The real civil war going on in America right now is in the GOP, and it's getting to a point where it's like I expect these people to come to blows. It's the Trumpers versus the non-Trumpers, and it shouldn't be that way. If you want your party to survive, it should not be that way. It would be revolutionary change, not revolution. And Mr. Hugh, I think that is how he probably should say it. If you're looking for revolutionary change, not because he says, incremental change it's a choice between incremental change and revolution. Not really the best wording there. Revolutionary change is a much better way of saying it. And again, he's not wrong. He's not wrong that it would be revolutionary change in we'll get I don't want to get ahead of the video. I get ahead of the video so often. As much as I pause it, you think I would be like, oh, you know what? I'll get that in a minute. But no, I just can't shut my damn mouth. Here we go.
I stand on the side of revolution. I stand on the side of the American Revolution, that we, the people, create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around.
And I get you being on the side of the American Revolution. I mean, he's kind of saying there, I'm an originalist, I'm a constitutionalist, whichever way you want to put that. But yeah, that's not the same as I'm for revolution, man. Oh, that's just such a bad talking point, the way you're stating it, sir. Because if you get any kind of traction, I'm telling you right now what's going to happen to the guy. If he gets any kind of major traction as a candidate, the press is going to come out with, this guy called for revolution. He wants war. Yep, that's what they're going to say. Oh, man. Did you hear that the police chief of Maui is a police captain from the Las Vegas shooting? No, I didn't.
That we, the people, require a government that tells us the truth about where COVID-19 came from, the truth about that Hunter Biden laptop, the truth about vaccine mandates, school closures, the truth about the Nashville shooter manifesto, the truth about what's happening in our country today.
That was timely. You just mentioned the shooting, or that you were just mentioning stuff they weren't telling us about. I agree. We need more truth. We can handle a lot more truth. The reason they don't tell us more truth is they can't handle the truth. I can't do a Jack Nicholson, or I would have done it right there. They cannot handle the truth. And moreover, more specifically, they can't handle us knowing the truth. Because if we knew the truth, they would be out of power. They would absolutely, there probably would be a revolution if you just told the people the truth. If you told the people the truth that they were locked down in their houses for over a year based on the ideas of a 15-year-old girl's science project that her daddy picked up and ran with and had never been used until this specific time, which oddly enough just happened to torpedo Donald Trump's chances in the election, what do you think they would think? Never been used before anywhere. For all their talk of how we've done it, they'd show us pictures, of in 1918 San Francisco. Look, people were wearing masks. Yeah, but they weren't locked into their homes and told you can't go to work, and they had to shut down all the businesses. No, we did it. We've done this kind of stuff before. We've had to lock down cities before. You kind of barricade them from the outside, let it take care, run its course within the community so that you're not infecting outside folks. Sure, you don't lock down the entire fucking country. And even in those situations, you don't lock down them being able to go to work or being able to leave their homes. That was all brand new. But don't tell people that, because if you do, then they'll get in. I'm probably in trouble with YouTube right now for even mentioning that. But it's absolutely true. They purposefully tanked the economy. It's the only conclusion to come to. There's no good reason that this was the test case for this new idea thought up by a 15-year-old. A 15-year-old, by the way, whose whole premise was based on a single school, not the entirety of society.
That is what this campaign is about. We stand for the truth.
And I appreciate that. And I do have some questions about why you had people change your Wikipedia page. And I don't know if he's answered that yet. I mean, it's stuff that should be easily explained away, like getting a grant from George Soros's brother 20 years ago. you should be able to explain, yeah, I was doing this, and at that time I needed the money, but instead just wiped off the page like it never existed. And he paid somebody to change that. So truth, I'm for it, my friend, especially when you're talking about within our government, because the whole idea of all of these I wonder how many of the confidential papers, the classified papers Donald Trump had in his possession. We got to get him because he had this, or even the shit that Joe Biden had in his box in his garage, right? I wonder how much of this actually even needed to be classified. Those classifications should only be there to protect somebody. There's no good or some state secret. We don't want this is classified. It's the specifications for the Bradley or whatever it is, right? Why is everything classified in our government? Well, a lot of it is just so the people who do it can feel like they're special. A lot of it is just nonsense, and a lot of it is to hide it from you and me. That's all. There's no good reason for it, but they do it. This is classified. What is it? It's our lunch schedule. Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of we can't have that.
I speak that truth without apology. God is real.
All right, here we go. There's number one. God is real. All right. I don't believe in God. I am an agnostic. All right. If you believe in God, you should believe 100% God is real because, well, you believe in God. Whether it's the God of the Muslims, the Jews, or the Christians, or anyone else, I can say, I was going to say the Scientologists, but do they really believe in a God? That's more of a space alien, isn't it? But there's nothing wrong with the comment, God is real. That's going to play well with the conservative base because many of them believe in God. And that's fine. I have no problem with him saying that. I just, on a personal level, disagree with it. And it's not really an argument worth having. So no problem with statement number one, despite what Max Miller might think.
There are two genders.
Undeniably true. Two genders. They try to get around that with, no, we have non-binary. And what about the intersex? I've explained intersex many, many times. Intersex is not a new sex. Intersex is always a deformity of one of the two sexes. That's what it is. And if you're talking about what about hermaphrodites? It's a weird coming together of the two sexes, but there's still a dominant sex there. If I remember correctly, they can't bear their own children. They can impregnate. So they don't have ovaries, but they do have testicles and sperm or something. It's one of those two. I forget which, but it's an abnormality. It's not normal. Two sexes, gender is a cope. Gender is not a cope. Gender used to be used interchangeably. It has been absolutely destroyed by the activists to try to pretend that there's a difference. I get what you're getting at there, but it's not. It used to just be a synonym for sex. Thank you, Keldrig. Chris Christie's food bill is classified. They had only just enough red tape to hide it, though. Indeed. Indeed. That fat fuck. Anyway, a word co-opted by them. Yes, absolutely. And it was done on purpose because what have I told you? Control the language, you control everything. Gender's language-based, not scientific. It's used in the scientific community all the time when you're not talking about humans. It used to be even used with humans, but gender has been used for different classifications of species forever. It's been used for a long, long time. And again, interchangeably with sex. So, I mean, the whole thing, the argument against the gender thing, I get what people are getting at that. But the real truth there is that they're just the same word. Gender was not a synonym. It was. There were places where you fill out official government forms going back to when I was a kid, and instead of sex, it said gender. It's been used for a long time. And it wasn't until the last 5 years that they decided, no, it's absolutely different. That idea starts Back in the 60s, I believe, is when it did it. But before then, yeah, they were just together. It was the same thing. Anyhow.
Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity.
All right. Now we're getting some red meat. Oh, Vivek, I could hug you. If only this motherfucker had a chance to be elected. If only he had a chance to be elected and wouldn't be assassinated for doing so. He's way too young for them to let him stay alive if he got elected. All right. Fossil fuels are required for human advancement, basically. It's true. Fossil fuels are what has fueled everything, including research into nuclear technology. They weren't doing that shit by candlelight. They build and build and build and build, and that's how we eventually get to where we are. And then we just stalled out because environmentalists, well, oh my God, what about Chernobyl? Yeah, how about we don't build any power plants that are not up to specs? That'd be a great idea. I'm all for that. But that doesn't mean we should stop with nuclear power. But even with nuclear power, there's still limitations on what you can do with that. You can't power your car on that shit. Oh, what about battery operated cars? Not sustainable in the long run. There's only so many things that they've been able to make the batteries out of. And the more rechargeable batteries we have, by the way, cause a shit ton of pollution when you get rid of them. You can only charge them so much and they can only go so far. You're not going to have your entire shipping industry, despite what they're trying to convince you of, running on these plug-in vehicles. It's an electric 18-wheeler. Yeah, how far can it haul that load? 6 feet. Well, good luck. Can we get to a place where maybe we have much better batteries? Sure. All right. What about the rest of your home? Could you do everything off of nuclear power? Maybe. Is it the smart idea right now? No. The easiest way right now, the cheapest way right now, gasoline, oil, natural gas. That's just it. It's just the easiest way to do it. And what you're saying is, hey, you people who haven't advanced as far, sorry, you don't get to advance as far because those of us who have advanced, and we're much smarter than you, by the way, we've decided it's not a good idea for you to do so. Can you imagine what would happen in America if tomorrow all fossil fuels were banned? And see, they love to talk about fossil fuels, but what about the other uses of fossils? The other one they hate, plastic. Plastic, that comes from fossil fuels. Comes from oil. What if tomorrow, look around your house, how many things that you're looking at that you can see in your vision right now would be gone tomorrow if we weren't allowed to do anything with oil? Petroleum, all petroleum products gone. You think the COVID lockdown looked bad? Just gone. Imagine not being able to heat your home if you have gas. They're trying to do that in New York, even though we're not getting rid of gas stoves. We're just making it so no new gas stoves can be sold here and that pizzerias that use gas can't use them anymore. Imagine all of this stuff being taken out of use immediately tomorrow. We would come to a fucking halt. We wouldn't be able to get anything to our stores. It's all shipped over the roadways with diesel-powered trucks. No, we got to get rid of... Why? Because it warmed up 3 degrees. Oh my. So, like, midsummer turned into 5 days later in midsummer? What? It's too warm. It's causing all of these things that have happened throughout known history. It's just fucking humorous to me. It really, really is. 40 minutes behind, electrical engineer here. Buried power lines have a whole host of additional maintenance problems. I would imagine so. Just keeping the water away from them's got to be a job in itself. when it rains. It's how far down do you bury them? Anyway, yeah. The idea that we got to get off fossil fuels. All right, maybe in the long run, I'm not against finding a better way, but they're not offering us a better way. They're offering us a not even close to as good way. It's not even mediocre. They're offering us a bad way. But don't worry, Joe Biden's building 31,000 electrical charging stations throughout the country that are mostly fired by or powered by fuel and coal or oil and coal. Don't worry, nothing to worry about. We have to get rid of the coal. You're not going to have lights. I live in a town where there's nuclear or wind or hydroelectric. All right. Good luck when they're not working. Global climate change killed the dinosaurs, monkey. Well, technically, yeah. If we're going with the prevailing theory that a meteor slammed into the U.S. into the atmosphere or through the atmosphere into the ground and shrouded the earth in darkness so that plants couldn't grow. No real telling on why they grew again later, but and all the dinosaurs died. I think what happened with the dinosaurs is they were driving around in electric cars and they hit each other and it caused a horrible environmental disaster when the nickel and the what else do they use in those things? The cobalt, they mixed and it caused a huge explosion that only killed dinosaurs. It was horrible. It was horrible. Anyhow, yeah, we can't get rid of fossil fuel usage. I mean, we could, but we're dooming society by doing so. We are putting everything 200 years back. We're like, oh shit, we can't even use oil-powered lamps. We can only use lard to make candles. All right, next up.
Reverse racism is racism.
100% true. There's no argument on that. If you the idea of reverse racism, do you even hear it in the name? Reverse racism. You can't fix racism by being racist because that's perpetuating it. That's it. Anybody who argues against that is a moron. You cannot fix racism with racism. There's no such thing as reverse racism. It's just racism. Throwing a qualifier at the beginning of it doesn't change it. That'd be like saying, only black racism. Look, I like everybody but black people, so it's not really racism. No, that's still racism, homie. Just the fact that it's only against white people. And that's what they mean when they say reverse racism, let's be honest. And it's what they call these days anti-racist, anti-racism. Anti-racism is racism. It's just true. All right.
An open border is not a border.
All right. This one's not entirely true, and I'll explain. There's a border between California and Nevada. There's a border between Michigan and Ohio. And they're open. But if you're talking about on a countrywide scale, no, it's not really a border, because if you right now are living in Ohio and for some reason you want to have a worse quality of life, you're absolutely allowed to just move into Michigan. Claim you're a Michigander. There you go. Because while we have these borders and they do have some meaning in a legal sense, because like there's laws that are here in Michigan that aren't in Ohio, that there's a little bit of a thing there. It makes the point that the border's meaningless because you can cross it at any time. And when you're talking about having a country that way, you really can't, because everybody, look at what's happening in Texas. Look at what's happening in Texas. People from California are moving there in droves. People from New York, people from these really fucked up liberal states are just going to Texas in droves. Why? Because Texas is doing really well. Texas is taking care of business. And what's happening to Texas? Well, you're getting a whole lot of shitbirds who are able to cross the border with no issue, and they're changing parts of the state. It's not purple yet, but it's getting a little bit of a bluish hue. And that's what happens. That's what happens with an open border. Everything can change like that. All it takes is migration. When it comes on the country scale, though, that's even worse, because you're talking about bringing in people who do not share your values. Theoretically, somebody from California and New York should both believe in free speech. I know. But theoretically, we are brought together by the Constitution. We're brought together by these shared beliefs and these values. And so even if you're crossing states and changing things a little bit, it's not supposed to be a giant change. It's just, okay, a little bit different now. You're talking about bringing in whole populations from countries that aren't doing well, that are shit. Imagine the people who run the Michigan Road Commission moving to every other state in the union, and how bad the roads would be. If you guys ever get anybody who used to be a Michigan Road Commission person and they come to your state, kick them out, because they don't do their job well. Just saying. And I don't know how good Ohio is, but a lot of it is better than Michigan, especially the fucking roads. Without a border that is closed off and we get to say who comes in, you're not really a country anymore. You're just a stop along the way to the next place they move to and destroy. Just saying. I resent that true statement as a Michigander. Look, I live here too. It's true, and you damn well know it.
Parents determine the education of their children.
All right. Yes and no. In a perfect world, more parents would probably homeschool. We live in communities where your kids could still get socialization, whether it's through your church or through community events. But we decided on this school system thing. And you can't just have every parent, no, this is what I want. That's why we elect school boards. Now, the problem that we're having right now is that the school boards don't necessarily reflect the values of the parents. And it's not because, I was going to say it's not because of any of the real beliefs of the people who are electing these people. I don't think people pay enough attention to who's getting elected to their school board. Everybody will tell you that the most important politics is your local, your school board, your county commission, your city council. These are the things that impact you the most. How much have you paid attention to anybody you've ever elected for your school board? Have you even seen campaign stuff from them? Do they even put it out? How many of them go out there and go, hey, this is what I'm going to do for your school? We're basically blindly electing these assholes. And most of them have come up through the education system, the education system that's coming out of our universities. And our universities, which are clearly controlled by Marxist shitbags. So, yeah. The whole DEI thing it's a DOE thing, needs to be decommissioned and either abandoned or reformed. Department of Education. I get what you're getting at. Depends on what you mean. On a statewide scale, I think it's fine. On a national scale, it shouldn't exist. We should not have a federal Department of Education. There's no reason for it. There's literally no reason for it. If they got rid of the Department of Education, nothing would happen. We'd have less people that we're paying for no reason. That's what your state is for. That's what, and more importantly, what happens with your local school boards. So I can't exactly blame the voters on this one when we don't get any information. If you go out and you vote, I don't know how it is in your areas, but when we go to vote, they'll give us a breakdown of any proposals, right? Like, say, I'm making this one up. Proposal 1, monkey gets to be king. And it'll say, this proposal says that monkey gets to be king. If you vote no for it, it means monkey doesn't get to be king, right? But when you go to vote for your local school board, or you're voting for your trustees of the different universities, or even the presidential candidates, there's pretty much nothing that you get that tells you what they believe. It's all stuff you're supposed to do on your own, which I don't have necessarily a problem with. But with the presidential candidates, we see them constantly. When you gubernatorial elections, you'll see them on the news. When was the last time you saw your school board commission debate? Anyone? Yeah, it doesn't happen. So we're just kind of blindly electing these people. And then they get mad when the parents rise up and go, what the fuck are you guys doing? Alan, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate it, my friend. Here's what needs to happen. School boards, and specifically each school, they need to post the curriculum. Why are you hiding that? Hey, this is what we cover in each chapter. And they shouldn't have to change it that often. Hey, this is what we're covering. This is our August curriculum. We're going to talk, an easier one, a February curriculum. We're going to talk about George Washington Carver. We're going to talk about Frederick Douglass. We're going to talk about MLK. We're going to talk about Tupac Shakur's mom. You know what I mean? Put that shit out there, but they hide it because they know they can get away with it. But then when people find out about it, like, you're teaching my kid what? And then, like, oh my God, they're threatening us. Yeah, they're threatening us. You got to lose your job because you believe boys and girls are different. And yeah, put that shit out there where people can see it. You're not going to do a school debate because, for the most part, these people all believe the same thing and they're getting elected anyway. But we need to become more involved. The problem is that's easy to say, but how do you force these people to go out there and give you their views before they're elected? That's what really needs to happen. We need to know what they think before they're elected. Do they even still have parent-teacher conferences? Sure they do. But a parent-teacher conference is just to tell you how well your kid is doing in school. The parent is not supposed, in theory, they're not supposed to be there. All right, what'd you teach him about MLK? What'd you teach him about his beliefs? Did you teach that MLK was racist for believing in people being colorblind? Because that's what they teach. I mean, they might not say it on MLK Education Day, but it's what they teach, that colorblind is racist. So therefore, the I have a dream speech itself is racist. I have a dream that one day my children will be judged by not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Colorblind. No, that's racist. And anybody who says that is racist. It's racist dog whistling. How many people would be okay with their local school board approving a plan that teaches MLK was racist for believing we should be judged by the content of our character? How many? How many would be even willing to put that bullshit into writing so that parents could see it? I pulled my son out of school and homeschool. That's cool. Not everybody can do that. All right.
The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind.
That one's a weird one, and I'm not exactly sure what he means by it. The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind. All right. I mean, I guess if you're talking about running the household, technically that would be governance. I guess so. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the nuclear family is the greatest way to raise children, to raise a family. Mom, dad, kids. And before anybody, you don't think gay people, look, it has nothing to do with that. It's about which is better than which. And yeah, all things being equal, a gay family and a straight family, the family coming from the straight kids will probably be more adjusted, more well adjusted. Monkey, you don't believe? No, I didn't say anything about not believing that gay people shouldn't have kids or any of that shit. We're just talking about, on the whole, which shows better results. And how were we doing? How were we prospering? And where are we now compared to when we were embracing it and championing it to where we are now, and how things look where we've decided it just needs to be thrown out the fucking window because we know better than people who came before us. That's not to say gay people can't adopt. It's just saying that they're going to have hurdles that other couples don't. You know, like having the feminine or masculine, depending on which kind of gay couple you're talking about, the opposite view. How do you show, if you're a lesbian couple with a baby, how do you show this young boy that you've adopted how to be a man? Where's his positive role model? I'm right here. I mean, in theory, it's fine. But in practice, you need both examples in your life for well-adjusted children. It's just true. And when it comes to being able to raise people out of poverty, the nuclear family, mom and dad, kids taken care of, roof over your head. It's just, I don't understand the people who argue against this shit. I really don't. And they called, remember when they took that clip of Jordan Peterson? Like, see, he doesn't believe in gay adoption, which isn't at all what he said. He basically just said what I did. I am heavily influenced by Jordan Peterson in these beliefs. But all he said was that when all things being equal, a mom, a dad, and children is the ideal situation. That's it. He said he doesn't like gay people. No, he didn't. You guys are liars. And if he really was that bad, you wouldn't have to lie about him. Anyway.
Capitalism lifts us up.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, this reminds me of a tweet I responded to because it was actually in response to this, to Mr. Number 8 here, that capitalism lifts us up. And this guy says, capitalism creates a wealth gap, has not narrowed since the beginning of capitalism. I'm going to put this one on the screen so y'all can read this stupid shit with me. Capitalism has concentrated more wealth in the hands of a lower number of people every year since the beginning of capitalism. Capitalism is not an equitable. Do you guys remember what equitable really means? Equitable and fair way for the majority of people on the planet to exist. And somebody asked him, what's the solution then? And he says, if I had a solution, I'd be a politician. I just don't believe it's a fair way of doing things. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning of what he said here. Wealth gap. This is the class warfare. This is the oldest commie talking point in the world. Somebody has more than you. Somebody has more than you. Can you believe it? They have more. Now, when you're talking about the rise of like the Bolsheviks, and you're over there in Russia, and Tsar Nicholas II is living high on the hog, and the people are not. Yeah, you can point at that and go, he's keeping us down. If you're looking at Elon Musk and you haven't been robbed by him and going, oh my God, he's got all that money and I don't. It's Elon's fault or it's capitalism's fault. Then you're just an idiot. You're just an idiot. Capitalism is not a zero-sum game. All right. There's not, let's just pick any number. There's not $1 million in the world, right? And if Steve has 990,000 of it, there's only 10,000 for everyone else. That's not how it works. It's not a zero-sum game. Steve can get rich, and so can Bob, and so can Fred, and so can Ralph, and so can Eddie. Because all you have to do is have a decent idea that resonates with the public and not fuck it up. But too many people have their wage slave jobs and blame everyone else for it. Like, I do. This is one of their favorite fucking talking points right now. You're making your money off the back of your workers. Did you get paid for your time? Yeah. Did you agree to that when you took that job? Yeah. Did you put any money into that business? No. Well, then shut the fuck up. You want to do as well as the guy you're working for? Go out there and do what he did. Go out there, take out a loan against your home. Go out there and put your fucking name on the line. Put your credit on, put your family on the fucking line to go out there and better yourself so that you can make your fucking fast food place that pays people $90 an hour. Oh, and by the way, when you're living under a bridge, just let me know which bridge because I want to come laugh at you. All of these people, oh my God, I am being taken advantage of by these people. Quit. There you go. Quit. Go make your own business. Well, that's not easy to do. You thought it was for him. You thought it was for the other guy. Why don't you go take care of it? Oh, but how about this? How about all of you guys who are working there? We're like, we need to unionize and rise up because we're the ones who do everything. Pool all your resources. Go make your little gay co-op. Go make your gay co-op coffee store. Call it Suck Bucks or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Pool your resources. Go do it. Go put yourselves on the line. But then there's no safety net for me. Oh, that risk. The risk that he took that you didn't. There are very few people in this country who have their money dating all the way back to when Washington and co. crossed the Delaware. Right? There's a weird thing that happens with capitalism where rich families eventually get poor and poor families eventually get rich. It's interesting. It happens a lot. A lot. They did that. It went bankrupt. I know, because they don't know how to fucking manage anything. They all think that owning a business or being even a manager within a business is just sitting on your ass doing nothing. Like, no, you're thinking of a union boss. Is management sometimes easier than the grunt work you have to do? Absolutely. Is it less physical most of the time? Is it easy? Not really. I've done it in every I've had 4 things that I'll say. I've had 4 jobs throughout my life. In 3 out of the 4, I ended up in management. In one of them, it resulted in less work, less physical work, but there was still more work I had to do. The managers should be taking out the trash and cleaning toilets. That's how you get people's respect. My rule as a manager over people was I would never ask somebody to do something I wouldn't do myself. Now, that didn't mean that I would be, say, like when I was over the front end, that didn't mean I was running registers every day because my job wasn't to run registers. And a lot of the times when it got busy, my job was specifically not to run registers as I was getting people into places they needed to be. But I also wasn't opposed to running register. I did it on many occasions. It's the ones who are like, that's not my job. Yeah. But again, that's not fair in every job either. But the whole thing is you're hired to do this job. He's hired to do that job. There's a reason he's not doing your job, because he wasn't hired for that one. The manager's not hired to do, for lack of a better term, your grunt work. It's what the grunts are for. But we do the hard work. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, yeah. If you've ever pushed carts in a Michigan snowstorm, you know that shit's not easy. Not physically easy. But it is the easiest job to get in Walmart, because it takes, forgive me if any of you are cart pushers, barely any brain power. Take that cart, put it into that cart, push it into there, and then push it into there. That's your job. It is a very, very low skilled position. That's why it's paid so low, because literally a monkey could do it. Anyhow, yeah, if you think you can run the businesses better, go do it. He's taking advantage of us. Go do it. Go do it. All of the Amazon people. Amazon is like the biggest employer outside of the government now. They overtook Walmart, right? I know they were getting close. But all of you guys, like, wait, it sucks here. Pool your money, make your own not Amazon shipping company. Go do it. And then when it doesn't work out, they'll probably take your experience into consideration when they hire you back at Amazon. Just saying. I'm so tired of these people who read a Marxist book or take some stupid ass Marxist course in their college, or, you know, all of them, not understanding simple concepts like capitalism, and never understanding that none of the peasantry gets wealthy or even well off or even middle class in a fucking communist system. And then they love this. No, I'm not communist. I'm social democracy. One, that is a term that Lenin used to use, for those of you who know who Vladimir Lenin is. And two, that's nonsensical bullshit. It is. Socialism is just the step to communism. Period. End of story. It's what it's always been, except for back when they were interchangeable. It becomes separate with Karl Marx. And even with him, socialism is the step to communism. No, oh, yes, it is. Read the shit. Because he didn't think a capitalist society could take switching immediately from capitalism over to communism. He thought it would cause revolt. Odd, right? All you're doing is making people accept less, so that when you do the big rug pull, they're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Capitalists know more about communism than communists know about capitalism, or than communists know about communism, actually, for being honest there. All right, I did not mean to get on my soapbox about capitalism v. communism. I'm just tired of stupid communists. I really am. Capitalism is the only way to get lifted up. Lots of people, I know I was going to move on, but lots of people will point to the Nordic countries. You know what the Nordic countries have? Zero upward mobility. And even they're not socialist. The Norwegians will get really mad if you call them that. But there's no upward mobility there, because everybody is locked into where they are. If you're born poor, you're going to die poor. If you're born middle class, you're going to die middle class. If you're born rich, you're going to die rich. But don't worry, guys. The wage gap isn't too bad. The wage gap isn't too bad, because they take 60% of your fucking money right off the top. There you go. Good job.
From poverty. There are 3 branches of government, not 4.
I remembered him talking about this one. I remembered him talking about the 3 versus 4, and I couldn't remember exactly what it was. So I went and looked up a clip of him talking about it. And let me bring this one up on the screen. Here's what he's talking about with the 4th side of government.
That the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government.
True.
Not this bureaucracy that actually runs the show today. That's the biggest myth in American democracy, is that we actually elect our leaders. We don't. We go through the motions. The real people who run the show are part of an acronymous 3-letter alphabet soup in the federal government. So I think
that gets to it, to where we can see what he exactly meant. He's talking about all of the agencies, not just your CIA and FBI. They exist. Thank you, Keldrig. You rant so long, I forgot we were still listening to Vivek. I know. Maybe this is why I'm so hard on those assholes who watch a video and never say anything. Like, it's not that hard. Anyway, thank you for the donation. He is talking about your Department of Education, your agricultural department, your Department of Energy, Veteran Affairs. What else do we have? The EPA, the FCC, the FDA, the FEC, all of these fucking government agencies that were never originally planned. They weren't. FEMA, yes. All of these places, they're the ones who make the rules. Because this is what happens. Congress will pass a bill. Congress will pass a bill that says the EPA has the right to make regulations over donkey farts. All right. IRS. Yeah. How did I forget the IRS? The EPA gets to make donkey fart regulations. And so then the EPA goes, hey, we have power over donkey farts. Let's say donkeys are only allowed to fart 6 times a day. And if your donkey farts more than that, you have to put it down. They're the ones who make the actual rule, not Congress. Congress is supposed to keep them as specific as possible. But instead of Congress writing a bill that says donkeys can only fart 6 times a day, they pass it off to the EPA. You'll notice that a lot of the times that people get in trouble, they're not in trouble for violating a federal law. They're violating a federal regulation. Regulations that often never went through Congress. They went through the EPA, the FEC, the FCC, the IRS. And that's who it goes through. They're the ones who get to make so many decisions in your life that you probably don't even realize. And that's when you'll see a lawsuit pop up and it'll go before the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will say, yeah, it's okay for the EPA to regulate donkey farts. That's what the job said. They put it into writing here. It was specific to donkey farts. So, or to donkeys. So yeah. Probably are unconstitutional, absolutely unconstitutional in most events, in most cases. What should happen if you're going to have these places, right? Again, let's say EPA and donkey farts. Congress should make a law that says, hey, you can't have a donkey that farts more than 6 times. And the EPA's job there would be to monitor donkey farts to see if they're being followed or not. Your donkey farted 7 times and you didn't kill it, bam. Because then it's not the bureaucrats who are deciding the law, it's the legislatures who make law. That's how it should be. If you're going to have these different commissions, these different agencies, they should be in response to the actual law, not making regulations that are disguised as law and carry the weight of law. So, yeah. Did you see about the farmer who shot 2 Monsanto employees who were tossing seeds in his non-Monsanto seed-only field? Wow, no, I didn't. I'll have to look into that one. Okay, all right. Let's move along.
And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is the truth.
Not exactly. The enforcement of the Constitution is. We saw Justice Scalia, God rest his soul, talking about the Constitution or about the Bill of Rights and stuff. In theory, yeah, It's very strong, but only if it's enforced. And he used, the free speech laws from the USSR, which were stronger than ours, more drastically stated than ours. But nobody over there had actual free speech because it wasn't actually implemented. Now, if you take Scalia's view that because of the separate but equal branches of government, then our Constitution is stronger, then I agree with Vivek here. The problem is that that's not what's been happening, because even on paper, it's not working out right. Congress right now is actively going after the judicial branch. They constantly actively go after the presidential branch and try to take, they ask for the president to do their job. Here's a war powers thing that you can use when you want to, because we're too pussyfied to actually vote on this stuff. See, if I vote to give you the power to go to war, but I don't actually vote for war, then I can say I didn't vote for war. Yeah, you can, but you just gave the power that you're supposed to have to the president. Only Congress can declare war unless they give that power away, which they do all the time, because they're pussies. It's the same goddamn thing they do with like the EPA. It's their job to make regulations and laws. We'll just pass that to someone else. We'll give that to the donkey farting regulatory group that we're going to make up. The DFA. So yeah, I mean, I agree in principle. The problem is we need enforcement of it. And that's up to the people who are in charge. So I like Vivek. I like a lot of what he says. I have no problem with any of the 10 that he really wrote here, or said here and then wrote on Twitter. There's just a couple of caveats to it, like the parents being in charge of their children's education. And the end one there. The Constitution is only as good as those enforcing it. That's the real problem. So, damn, I wish this guy had a better chance to be president. I might actually vote for a real candidate again. We're shaping up to be a lady monkey kind of vote right now. We'll see. I'm not positive on that one yet. I could still be swayed for right now. I could still be swayed for Trump. It would be my first vote for the guy, but I need to see him more worried about this election than he is about the last one. Ramaswamy, I could definitely vote for, even with his flaws, guys. And I know he's got some flaws. Even if he's going to pardon Biden, even if he actually said that, if he said, I'm going to pardon Biden and pardons Biden and cuts 75% of the federal labor force, it would be a fine trade-off with me. I don't need Biden to go to prison. I need my country fixed. And yeah, you can say that, hey, what's going on with Biden shows that we're in a bad place. True. You fix that through the government. And if I have to let old meth tooth jack off to little girls get away with it, I guess that's fine. I'll take that for getting rid of 75% of the government. Absolutely. 100%. Honestly, DeSantis is still the best choice based on their record. I could be convinced to vote for DeSantis. I could. I like a lot of what Ronnie does, but he's going down a path I really don't like in this election. All the way with RFK. RFK is a fucking liberal. I agree with him on like 3 things, and otherwise the dude is just stone cold liberal, and I'm not. He is dyed in the wool. Kennedy, born and raised liberal, which is why it's so funny that people come after him the way they do. Because I don't hate RFK. I just think that if he were elected, you might as well have elected Bernie, honestly. So, yeah, Eagle just said he's communist in my book, right? You might as well be electing Bernie, and Bernie was a shitbag who absolutely does not belong anywhere near power. But yeah, so guys, I didn't do anything else online today, really. I did see some stuff I wanted to talk about. This one is interesting, and I want to bring it up because the guy makes a very good. Holy shit! I went an hour on that Vivek thing. Wow, you guys like somebody who talks a lot, don't you? This is Dr. I can't say his fucking name. Something Lehan says Jon Stewart ruined a generation of truth-hungry kids. Those of us coming of age during 9/11 and the war on Iraq were looking for anything outside the mainstream narrative spinning BS. He popularized mugging off to the camera. How dare you? That's David Letterman. Anyway, using pregnant pauses and mockery to affirm obvious stupidity instead of interrogating the facts and engaging in informed rebuttal. The show was highly influential, but it left its viewers unable to discuss politics in a useful manner. I could hug this motherfucker. He is, in no insignificant way, responsible for the smug and moralistic tone of many on the left today. He is also partly responsible for the attitude among many of them that anyone they disagree with is simply self-evidently stupid, no facts required. He specializes in mocking and caricaturing conservatives, a trend we now see come to full fruition with the casual labeling of Nazis or white supremacists of anyone such people disagree with, even on the most basic of social issues. You know, RFK, for instance. I mean, it's a great segue, and I didn't even realize it. This is exactly what happened to RFK. He agrees with liberals on most, and probably is more left than even some people who call themselves liberal. Same thing with J.K. Rowling, whatever. I had somebody tell me the other day, she's just gone off her rocker. Has she? Because she thinks gender really exists? She thinks there's two sexes? That means she's crazy now? They agree with her on everything else. But, hey, that fucking Nazi bitch. This is his legacy. In a time where a truth-hungry generation were desperately looking for someone to cut through the partisan mainstream bullshit, he molded them into smug, disingenuous, and lazy thinkers. Whew. I'm having trouble finding something to disagree with on that. I remembered a poll that said that most young people got their information from Jon Stewart, their news information. And I went looking it up, and I couldn't find that exact one. But way back in 2004, this should scare the shit out of you. In 2004, 21% of people 18 to 29 years old said they got their election news from Jon Stewart and Saturday Night Live. That's where they got their information. Jon Stewart and Saturday Night Live. All right. I mean, and this was touted as a good thing, and it keeps going. In 2012, there's another big showing that young people are watching this. It had been like 9%, and it jumps up to, I want to say 24, but don't quote me on that latter percent. I know the 9 is right. Of people watching this shit and taking it as real. The idea that you don't even have to question anything. It's just I don't even need to argue with that. It's just that stupid. It's so stupid there's no reason to even argue. Because you can't. I mean, honestly, you can't. Guy's name is pronounced Ian. Thank you, Spud. But yeah, he's not wrong here. And that's not to say there's not some humor in that, but that's the whole point. The Daily Show was supposed to be a humorous show. And Jon Stewart he used to argue all the time. No, they're not taking us as news. They said they were, fucker. It was supposed to be taken as not necessarily the news, a comedic take on what was going on in the world. Not this is the way you should behave constantly, and that's how you should look at every political interaction. But oh boy, the mainstream media loved that Jon Stewart was what people were looking at because it made them, money. How did it make them money? Well, they were parroting the same points that he was, just without the comic tone. That's all. Leibowitz leached off the work done by Craig Kilborn. By the way, that's John's real name. Trump had pointed that out, and it caused a kickoff. That's where I saw it. I'm not saying he's the only one's ever pointed it out, but yeah, Jon Stewart. I don't want to say he leached off the work done by them. Jon Stewart was a beneficiary of his writers, who wrote well for the show, but as it turns out, didn't do so well on their own, like Samantha Bee. Yeah, a lot of the work that his writers did carried the Daily Show, not just Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart was just the face of it. He was part of the writing, don't get me wrong, but only Colbert really took off. I mean, you can point to maybe, was John Oliver one of theirs? I want to say maybe Oliver was, but he's got a niche show on HBO. But for most people, they think it was Jon Stewart. Look how smart and funny he is. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Samantha Bee, we dared you to laugh. Oh, isn't she the one? Isn't she the one that went after who? She went after, like, was it Sarah Huckabee Sanders, where she really made a big ass of herself? Anyway, I just wanted to bring this up because, look, I don't blame Jon Stewart for all of it. He's definitely a big part of it for a lot of these people. I mean, they're watching this. It really blows up on the college circuit, and that leaks down into, for some reason, even teenagers watching The Daily Show. There shouldn't be that many teenagers watching The Daily Show. It's not that funny. Ivana Trump was is that who it was? Okay. Who was the first Daily Show? That was Craig Kilborn, wasn't it? Was he the first, or did they have a host before him? Anyhow, I just thought that was a really good take on what happened there. And it's true. And it's a hard thing to fight against, because most of these people think that that's how you're supposed to behave when you're discussing. And look, I use my pregnant pauses. I make fun of stuff, but I also try to actually engage the argument. I don't think I can be accused of not engaging the argument. So it's one thing to mock it, but it's another to mock it without anything behind it. That's all. He was better than his replacement. Trevor Noah is, at least. Yeah, Trevor Noah sucks. He's getting ready to leave, or just did leave. I saw the other day, maybe a month or so ago, that they'd named a new host. Comedy died with Hillary Clinton. Comedy goes in cycles, to be honest. Right now, comedy is doing okay. If you're looking for it on your late night shows or anything like that, yeah, it pretty much died with the 2016 election. Ivanka or Ivana, I can never keep which is which. Yeah, me either, Faithless. I don't know which is which. All right. This leads me to one more story I want to talk about. I don't have a story up on it. Do you guys know who Linus Tech Tips is? Linus Tech Tips is as it might sound, a tech channel here on YouTube. It's a guy who started out. He was working for a computer store, and he started making videos for YouTube while still working at the store. And it was called something like TXC or something like that. I forget the name of the company. And then Linus Tech Tips. And he eventually leaves there. They still own that. So he goes and makes his own Linus Tech Tips. He got very popular, and with good reason. Very good reason. I enjoy Linus Tech Tips. It might be a little too nerdy for some of you. But if you're looking for, okay, if you were looking for good reviews on the latest video card or the latest CPU, how well does this RAM compare versus other? it was a good place to go. Unfortunately, it turns out lately he just took a break, you guys. He's taken a break. They've taken a pause, is how they said it, over there on Linus Tech Tips, because they keep fucking up. Let me give you an example. They were reviewing a water cooler. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a water cooler that goes in your computer. This one was specifically to keep your video card cool. And when they went to review it, they didn't review it on the video card that it was made for. Instead, they did it on a 4090, which didn't fit. When you're looking for something to keep your computer cool, your components, it has to fit right. They're made specifically so that they touch at the right points to divert heat. And they used it on the wrong card. And then they told everybody that it sucks. And then they repeated later, even though they used the wrong card, that it's not worth buying, even if you have it on the right card, which they never tested it on. That's a huge fuck up that should not have happened. Exactly, Dom. And they still they knew when they did it that it was the wrong card. They mentioned it in their video. But they still made the video telling people that this cooling system from this upcoming, it's called Billet. I forget, it's like Billet Incorporated or something like that. That this thing, it's just shit. Off of a test that wasn't under the right parameters. You can't do that shit. And I just watched a video of this before I went live, and there's tons of examples of them fucking shit up, where they did a test of different video cards while playing Cyberpunk 2077. And it shows that this one video card performs 300% better than every other card they've ever tried. And not one of them went, that seems really weird. You should not get, unless you're, back on a Voodoo 3DX from back in the day, you should not get a 300% jump between the latest card and the latest card. And yeah, they never even paid attention to it. And it turns out what happened is when they went to run the game automatically detects your settings. And they ran it on much lower settings than they did on the other cards. So, yeah, if you're running, you turn down shadows, you turn down ocular lighting, you turn down anti-aliasing, you turn all this shit down, it's going to run faster. They didn't catch it. They didn't even pay attention to a 300% increase. Should have made bells go off like, wait, something's fucked up here. And they still ran with it. Now, there's a prevailing theory, and this is what they said too, that they're just trying to do too many videos too quickly. How can they be this incompetent? Pirates, that's a great question. Again, their excuse is they're just trying to do too much. They're just trying to do it too quick. Anti-aliasing. Am I saying the word wrong, or do you not know what that is? Anyway, so Linus Tech Tips has taken a break. They've paused while they look at their internal shit that has made them keep fucking up over and over and over and over again. Jesus, it's not a one-man operation, for fuck's sake. No, they actually just turned the company. They just hired a new CEO that's supposed to be looking over everything so that they can get their shit done. They have a whole team. Linus used to do the videos by himself. And as he's gotten bigger and bigger, he's hired more and more people, and the quality's going down. Oh, it's fucked up. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and it's a good lesson in quality. It's a good lesson in quality. If it takes you 2 more days to get the video right, you should take the 2 more days and get the video right. Your audience will appreciate you more for putting out good content than just putting out fast content. Fast content will get you the short term. Yeah, oh, he's pumping this shit out daily. And then as soon as people realize that you're fucking it up over and over again, they're going to stop watching it. They don't want to see bullshit daily. Unless, you know, it's intentionally bullshit. Didn't they sell the prototype cooler? They auctioned it. I want to say yes. One of the other ones, this one's just funny to me. They did a mouse review, and this is a gaming mouse. And for those of you who don't know the difference between a gaming mouse and a regular mouse, your regular mouse, as long as it scrolls and points and clicks where you want it to, that's all you need. In a gaming mouse, you need it to be responsive, especially if you're playing something like a first-person shooter, because the difference in a really good mouse and a quality mouse, or even a low quality mouse, it's not going to seem like much to you if you don't do it, but you'll notice a major difference in how quickly you can get your aim off, right? How quickly you can get to the right part of the screen to push the button to kill the guy on the left over there. So they're doing this review of this gaming mouse, and he starts bitching that it doesn't move smoothly. It's just it drags. Drag in a gaming mouse is death, both to the mouse and the players using it. So he puts up this review talking about how it drags, and the company comes out and says, there's plastic on the I forget what do they call them? The bumps that your mouse actually that it sits on. It's like your mouse feet. I think that's what the feet. There's the slides. Thank you. There's plastic over them that you're supposed to remove. And they came back and went, we didn't have plastic on ours. And then it came out a little bit later that went, yeah, it turns out we did have plastic on there. We didn't remove the plastic, and that caused the drag. But it's their fault for not having tabs on the plastic, so we knew to remove it. Are you fucking assholes? You made a mistake. You made a mistake. That's the kind of thing that should have been the first thing you did, is look at the fucking sliders and see why it wasn't moving. If that was natural, at which point you should have been like, oh, it looks like there's plastic on here, and peeled the fucking thing off. But yeah, they blame them for not having it more noticeable that you need to remove it. That's done to keep it from getting damaged during shipping. The plastic will take any bumps instead of the slider. And yeah, they didn't even catch it. That would have been, if I buy a fucking $200 mouse and it's not sliding like it should, the first thing I'm doing is looking at the sliders. I'd be like, I don't know why this. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and they put that out there to their public, and now they're going to be suspect in anything they say, because they've just ruined the trust. Yeah, you got them short term. We made a video every day. Good job on you, but you've lost your credibility with your audience, and that's just not a good way to go. Can't fix stupid. An email to the company would have helped. Trusting the company and then looking at the mouse when they said it would have helped. Instead, they argued with them first. And yeah, then they finally come out and like, oh yeah, you guys are right. It was my bad. Speaking of gaming mice, looks like I'm buying a new one, getting another Corsair. Nice. I'm still using my Steel Series. My Steel Series has been working pretty good. It's a Steel Series plugin. I don't use. I hate when I have the very real excuse of my battery died. That's why I don't like gaming mice or wireless gaming mice. I was looking for the word wireless and my brain just wouldn't give it to me. I'm more okay with wireless keyboards, but I've just stuck with, give me one that has a wire attached. At least then I know when it dies versus when the battery just died. I don't look at the bottom of my mouse. He just lays there looking dead. I mean, if that's how you let it be, you should probably clean that up though. I just can't imagine testing out one of these things. there's also examples of them. One of the videos I saw, this guy was upset that the reviewer of a video card said the term it's from X company and they always make it good, so you expect that. I don't have a problem with somebody saying that if every review you've done on their products has been good. I do have a problem with that if you're not being honest about it. If you're just saying it because you're sucking up to X, it's kind of the same when it comes to video games themselves. You know, there's people who won't talk shit about certain companies no matter how bad their fucking games are. We're getting ready to have Starfield launch. I don't think I'm going to be able to play it at launch. I need another job for that. But I already know what's going to happen. It's Bethesda. It's going to come out with some issues. For most people, it won't be a big deal. For most people, they'll be able to play at launch. If we go by Bethesda before. But even if it launched perfectly, there'd be somebody out there going, it's not playable on my Switch. Or they'd have some reason to bitch about it because it's Bethesda. On the other hand, it could come out entirely unplayable, and there'd be little Bethesda fanboys who are like, it's the greatest thing ever. You guys just don't see the beauty in it. I don't trust Bethesda to make a good game. Bethesda makes fine games. They just don't launch fine games. And even, see, this is one, Fallout 76. I disagree with most people. I think Fallout 76 was fine in its original iteration. It had some graphical errors that were fixed pretty quickly. And that's not to excuse them for it, but the amount of players who were losing their shit because they thought they were buying Fallout 4 Fallout 5 instead of buying Fallout 76. Most of them just didn't pay attention to what the game said it was going to be. For the most part, it was what it said it was going to be. It's just these are people looking to play Fallout instead of a survival game, and it was a survival game set in the Fallout universe. And so a lot of people got upset about that, and every little thing with Fallout 76. See, I told you it was created by Satan's dick. It was just fucking horrible. I saw it and noped out. Yes, I saw it and I'm like, yeah, it sounds like something I'd play. And I did, and I enjoyed it. There were, like I said, there were some graphic issues early on, and I think it's boring as shit when it gets to end game. I think there's a lot more they could have done to make it more interesting. But yeah, just a run-of-the-mill survival game is all it was, and all it was really supposed to be. I like quests, exactly. And most people looking for a Fallout game like quests. We've seen this with several games before when they try to do something different. What was the other Fallout game? Tactics. Fallout Tactics is not a Fallout game in the traditional sense, and it kind of suffered for that. We've seen this with a lot of games, man. Renegade from Command and Conquer. It's such a rapid departure from what you normally expected from a Command and Conquer game. Didn't make it a bad game. It's just that you're putting in this universe that people are expecting a certain thing, and they get in there and like, where's my Command and Conquer game? So it's a roll of the dice. Will I be gaming after this? It's not raining, so I'm going to try. It has been raining like hell here for the last 3 days, and I'm not excited about that. It makes the satellite basically unusable. But we're going to give it a try. It should be nice and rested because it hasn't been used in 3 days. I'm thinking if it's Bubba still awake, Bubba's probably asleep. But the new Phasmo came out, and I'm looking forward to trying it. I think it's the 9.0 is the actual update number, the version number that we're on. It's Phasmo 9.0 come out. That sounds like something that happens on OnlyFans. It came out, and Bubba hit me up, and I think he's asleep though, and I don't know if I want to try it without him. I might go in there and just goof around a little bit and see what it's about. What about that demon game? Demonology? I have it installed and I still have not played it yet. You're phasmophilic. I do love the game, man. But I think we'll be jumping into that. We'll get back to some Baldur's Gate in a little bit. And there was a decent sized update that came out for 7 Days to Die. So I have a lot to play. It's just my satellite and my body all cooperating. A monkey gonna have to learn all over again. Yeah. What they did with Phasmo is they did a complete reset of all the money. They introduced, I don't even remember how many new things, but in old Phasmophobia, you'd have like your temperature gauge. And now there's 3 temperature gauges that each cost a different amount. And because of that, we're going to have to work back up to having money to get them. A lot of mechanics changes. I hear what you're saying, but a lot of the mechanics changes are things that we've wanted for a while. He says like UV, not just UV. In Phasmo, you've been able to see the footprints if they walk through salt and you have a blue light or green UV light. That's what I'm talking about. A UV light down. Now it'll only make that if they also make fingerprints. It's a fingerprint warning enabler sign. It's a sign of fingerprints too, because there's a lot of rooms that ghosts would end up in that there was no door for them to touch or no window. And so you're like, maybe it's fingerprints that never touch the light switch. So you can't, yeah. So they've made a lot of it a lot better. Things we've been asking for. A lot of it's going to be a lot harder because each piece of equipment has 3 different levels and they get better as you get better levels. So the smaller ones, like your UV light is really small. And then your parabolic microphone is almost worthless. So I kind of like the change, and it actually gives us something to work for. Right when I finished before the reset, I think I had $80,000 just sitting there, nothing to spend it on. Every so often, if you die in the game, you lose everything. If you're the one who filled the truck and everybody dies, so you might have to reload that. They put things in here that's actually a money drain. Like if you use your salt on a mission, you actually have to rebuy it every time, which probably should have been a thing anyway. Fuentes is dead. It's over. Did Nick actually die? Or are we just talking about what a douchebag he is? So, guys, I am going to wrap up here. I'm going to go see my missus because she's awake. And I think I might eat. As long as it's not pay to win. Oh, retro. This is all in-game currency. It's nothing you can buy. As far as I know, they didn't add any item shop. This is what you earn from each mission. Every mission that you complete, you get a certain amount of money for the things you completed in there. That's the money. And as far as I know, there's no way to, not that I would anyway, but there's no way to buy any of that stuff. So anyway, let's buy, not jack. Let's wrap this one up, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a fun one for me. Hope you enjoyed it. I realize I'm very talkative on some videos, and that's why I show them. Eat what? Lady Monkey got me a Subway sub last night, and I haven't been eating very well the last few days. It's in the fridge, and I'm probably going to eat about half of that. So not the greatest food, but not the worst I could do. It's not a Big Mac, so everybody, thanks for coming out. Don't forget to tip your waiter. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't done so already. Please consider sharing this with your friends, your family, and I bet you hate. I will be over on Ranting Monkey Games here in just a little while. Give me, I don't know, up to an hour. Like I said, I'm going to go see her. I'm going to eat and get everything set up. And as long as the satellite's working, yeah, I think we'll do Phasmo, which means I need to adjust the thumbnail a little bit. So I have to do that too. Over there, Ranting Monkey Games. Here in a little bit, playing Phasmo by myself because I don't see him in the chat. So I'm be scared. Luckily, it's almost daytime, so it won't be as bad. Everyone, take care of yourselves. I love you, and I will see y'all next time. I'm finally done talking about things, 'cause I'm gonna go play a video game. Gonna look at my wife's boobs, probably pet the cat. The real one, not her vagina, if you were thinking that. And then I'll be right back playing my video game. I don't know how to rhyme that except say same. Bye, guys. I'll see y'all next.